I remember being afraid to be creative on things because I thought people would make fun of me when I was younger. People pleasing, you know what I'm saying? Somebody else's approval of me was more important than me going after my passion.
Roll me, Mac.
What's your favorite conspiracy theory? Okay, favorite conspiracy theory, and there's a lot of them because I used to be knee deep in the conspiracies, like to the point of it was wrecking my brain. But if there was one that was like the favorite per se, my favorites of the conspiracy theories is about the music industry, the entertainment industry as a whole. And this notion, and I want you to, I'm gonna put this in perspective for you. And there's a lot of things going around, with the Diddy, some shit, Michael Jackson, Tommy Mottola, Mariah Carey stuff. You can Google all these things. These are actual events that went down. But this notion that you have to be embarrassed, like if you're a straight male, you have to be embarrassed by letting owner of a record company do something to you. You know what I'm saying? In order to make it in the industry. And like I said, when you're a young artist, like I was in my 20s, wanting, trying to make it, these things, I was just astounded because I kept hearing these various names and that person gay, that person gay, that person gay. And let me be clear, nothing wrong with being gay, but it's more the deception that you're giving. The public deception is more so what I want to focus on when it comes to this particular topic. It's like you're portraying yourself to be this, macho person. But if indeed it's true what I'm being told by somebody that I knew within, I won't say major in the industry, but she was on her way. I was dating this girl when I was living in Miami, and she was, around some folks that knew some things, but again, hearsay. But when I started, she kind of got me on that path of where it's it's a rabbit hole. You know how we end up in our TikTok rabbit holes these days? I was on YouTube like a motherfucker trying to figure out what all this connected to, and it led me down some of the darkest shit I've ever came across. And the concept of the Nephilim, and the Nephilim wanting to be praised for being such giants, gods, and coming back in demonic spirits and possessing people. And yeah, it was a lot because I just wanted to make music. I just wanted to make music and you know, and be known for it. I wanted to produce music, sing on somebody's chorus or something. But when I heard all of that shit, man, I was like, fuck, man, I don't want to have to go through that shit. I don't want to let no old ass white man do something, you know, in a sexual sense to me in order for me to make it. Like, to me, that conspiracy of that, you know, and because of my attachment then to music and just what it all meant back then. Like, in order for somebody to be a big, like a huge artist, they had to do something in order to gain it, you know? And that is what really, you know, a lot of the things I would come across, I was seeing things and I'm trying to line, you know, you try to line shit up when you got a conspiracy. And they're like, hold up, well, wait a minute. Nope. They did wear black tea. And, you know, black tees, you know, the people in the demons, they wear black tees. And, you know what I mean? It's just the smallest shit ever that comes to your mind, you know, when you're talking about conspiracy theories. But other conspiracy theories that I would, you know, like entertain, that one stuck out to me the most because that's what I wanted to do. I mean, I just knew once I couldn't make the NBA. Now these are my younger dreams. I have other dreams, you know, and making it in music is still, I mean, because you can make music till forever. I mean, Quincy Jones was 50 when he made Thriller. You know what I mean? So I got time. But in all seriousness, like once the NBA and I didn't have that dedication to getting better at basketball, music was what I wanted. Like I was determined. Like, I mean, I know I can do music trivia with the best of them as far as like, you know, the old school R&B, old school soul music, rap music, pop music, you name it, even some gospel in there and all the stuff that, you know, I grew up on around my parents' influence on me. But to really look at this like, fuck, is this what I gotta do? Not even consider it, let me be clear. But like the fact that, damn, so that means that all of these people I love, they had to do something where they sacrificed themselves. Or possibly even somebody else type thing. You know, that's what kind of threw me off. You know what I mean? Because I'm like, damn, is this shit really going on? And for a long time, yeah, I was, like I said, I was deep into it. I was really, I took the bait. I took the bait for it. And I haven't made it that far to even say whether this is true or if it's not. But like I said, the conspiracy theories, that's the one that probably stands out to me the most. You know, the whole thing, again, you're hearing about celebrity deaths and them dying in threes. Like, what are the chances of that? All that's like this so coincidental, like celebrities dying in threes and all this shit. It makes you think about a lot of stuff. And can be quite kind of, you know, it does make you raise an eyebrow to the shit that you read, the shit that you hear. But truth be told, it's all much ado about nothing news. Because again, why did the TV program us to be so attached to entertainers in the sense where you even feel this way? You know what I'm saying? You got people you ain't talked to in years and you don't feel this way about them, but somebody you never met before you're crying because they passed away or told that they passed away. And that's a whole other thing, like faking deaths. You know, that was again, part of this same, you know, keeping it same with the same conspiracy, because we're talking about the entertainment industry. And there's the whole concept of like people faking deaths, like Pac faking his death. Some people believing Elvis faked his death. When these people die, it's like Truman Show or something where they die and they say that they die and then they just carry on like they live their normal lives or some shit elsewhere. There's a lot of people in the world. Is it far-fetched? Probably. Is it improbable? Probably not. Is it impossible? I don't think so. Who knows in this world? If we can believe in fucking aliens, and you know what I'm saying, and if a person that don't put forth effort into themselves think they're gonna find a good woman and a good man, what's stopping you from believing in this shit? That's how I see it. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I'm serious about that shit as far as like not putting effort into yourself. Because you got to really be crazy to think that you're going to sit there, be lazy, overweight, not ambitious, and think you're going to pull a bad one. Somebody that's like that's about that, about that life, you know what I'm saying, of putting forth effort into themselves, taking care of themselves. You got some kind of arrogance about yourself and entitlement to believe that you're gonna get a good man, a good woman, when you don't put effort into shit. You get out of life what you put into it. You know what I mean? But if they can believe that, then what's the issue with people believing that they're able to, somebody's able to fake a death and then just live their life with their families somewhere else? You know what I'm saying? Who knows? Kobe Bryant, you know what I mean? Like I said, and out of respect for his family, that's what I'm saying, like these conspiracies, you don't take into account like people that are actually affected by this stuff and putting out that word like, oh yeah, they're faking this stuff. Who knows? We don't know that. That's dark, right? To me, I find that to be insane. It's dark because like there's a lot of pain that goes into, like, again, when you have somebody in your family pass away, the emotions, you know what I'm saying, that come with that. And then imagine reading that this person that passed away in your family, they're believing that they faked their death and that they're just, I don't know, like, again, it's like a Truman Show. But it's interesting, this world that we live in. Like I said, there's no, I don't believe there's no limit to what could be true, what could be false, what could be, what could be full of fallacy. But when it comes to those conspiracy theories, to me, that was the favorite one because, like I said, because of my attachment to wanting to make it in music. I just knew that I was going to be a young producer in Miami when I was 22, 23. I was going to run the streets. I was going to work with all the big names in hip hop, all the names in R&B, all of this stuff. And then I come across this information, meeting somebody that was like somewhat in the industry more than what I was and where I wanted to be. And then they tell me that this stuff is going on. I'm like, what are we talking about here? Diddy, the stuff that Diddy had going on, who were supposedly involved in all that stuff. And that's got all us talking on TikTok, and they got accounts of it, people coming out talking. And then you look at like the fires that went in the Palisades saying, this is happening because of, they're burning evidence. And it's like, now conspiracy theory, we just keep finding things and connecting it with something because we want to believe it. And one of my college professors, I forget his name, but he was an Indian man there in North Carolina. We went to school on Campbell University that was on Fort Bragg. I was working at Fort Bragg at the time. And he was like, a conspiracy theory is like looking for a black cat in a dark room and there's no cat in the room. Like, you're just connecting things. You have no idea, again, you get enough people to believe it, then it becomes the truth. And as Charlemagne likes to say, who cares about the truth when the lie is more entertaining? So regardless if it's true, if it's not, we're going for the drama. We're going for the gusto. We're going for whatever the big storyline is going to be. So it's just the mystery of it all. Because again, having facts about things, once you get it, that's it. But because there's no official fact, it keeps you guessing. Our minds love to find questions. I was listening today, forget the theory, it's this psychological theory, but our brains love to find questions about things. And when you leave something open end, you're constantly finding questions. So when it comes to conspiracy theories, that's the one that I tend to, now I would say that's probably my favorite conspiracy theory, is that there's this notion that you have to do certain things to make it in fame, sell your soul, if you will, to these people. You work so hard all your life to make it in this industry, and yet in order to make it, you have to do this and you can be made a star. Supposedly, again, conspiracy theory. But when I was coming up trying to make it, yeah, I damn sure was trying to get involved. Not with that, but I was trying to make it in the industry. And then when I saw that shit, it kind of put me at a halt, like, hold up, you know what I mean? But of the conspiracy theories, yeah, that's probably my favorite one. philosophy gets you through life's challenges? I have a few. You probably, if you're, a veteran watching this, if you're a censor, shout out to the censors that watch this, that watch the shows, that listen to the podcast. But if you know me personally in life, the philosophy that gets me through life is no expectation, no entitlement, and no ego. If I don't have entitlement, I won't feel upset about things. If I don't have expectations, I take things as it is. Amor fati, you know what I'm saying? I accept things as it is, not what I want them to be. And if I don't have an ego, then I don't take it personal. What is being said, what is being done. It's just a thing that's happening. And I don't have to absorb, I can observe. So that's another philosophy that gets me through a lot of life challenges is observe, not absorb. And you know what I'm saying? Like treating things in life, your thoughts in your mind as clouds, and it's tough. It's tough because we are programmed and wired from an early age to attach ourselves onto the things that are happening around us. And we can, again, I think it starts in elementary school when you're getting picked on and you get sad because you feel entitled to people being nice to you. But what they're laughing about has nothing to do with you. Even if it's about you, it has nothing to do with you. It's about what they find to be funny, what they believe is comical. But, and that's what starts people afraid to try things. I remember being afraid to be creative on things because I thought people would make fun of me when I was younger. People pleasing, you know what I'm saying? Somebody else's approval of me was more important than me going after my passions in life. And it put me on the shelf for a lot of things until I learned to not give a fuck what people thought about what I was doing. It takes time to build that courage to do so. But yeah, for sure, no entitlement, no expectations, and no ego. Of course, the 4 agreements. So, be impeccable with your word. Like I said, be impeccable with your word. Don't take anything personal. Don't make assumptions and always do your best. Like, to me, that it helps shape so much. Once Don Miguel Ruiz kind of put that in this little ass book, probably take you an hour to read it. But it's jam-packed with stuff that'll save you in life. I definitely recommend that book. Like I said, the 4 agreements and everything else that Don Miguel Ruiz and his kids write, 5 levels of attachment, having this idea, like the mastery of self and how it talks about attachment to an identity. And they use the example of a guy that's a soccer fan. And I guess this really happened, or maybe he was just using an example, but guy watches a soccer match, his team loses, he's a bus driver, and then he sees the fans of the other team, and then he uses the bus to run over them. For the simple fact, because his team lost. Because he had an attachment to his identity. He thought he was on the team, and he suffered. And that's another thing. Like, again, Buddha teachings is talking about suffering. And again, attachment leads to suffering. That's another philosophy. I'm not telling anybody not to feel anything. But what I'm saying is that once they broke that down, if it's not physical, we create our own suffering. Because it's all mental. And mental we have control over. We have control over our mind. We're not able to control somebody that physically strikes us, obviously, if we can move out the way or something like that. But in the sense of mental, you need my permission to offend me. So whatever you're saying to me, I would have to agree with what you're saying. But if I do not value what you say, if I do not believe what you're saying, then I'm not hurt. But if I believe it, a part of me feels what you're saying is the truth, I'm going to be offended by it. You know what I mean? And once I learned that from reading the first agreement, and be impeccable with your word, I was like, oh, so I have full accountability over my life. Even when I'm pissed off, and my inner child is not secure. It's very, very insecure. So when the inner child is driving the car and you spaz out, you respond in anger, it's my choice. I've programmed myself, I've mastered this way of responding to shit so much that this is how I respond in anger. This is how I respond when somebody talks about me. And I can be indifferent. That's another philosophy I like to live by. Indifference. Something happens that, commonly people would feel joy about. Okay, good, great. Something happens and people commonly feel upset about, sad, or, disappointed. Okay. Like indifference. Learning to use that, it's a form of stoicism. It doesn't mean you don't feel anything. It just means you don't allow it to get to you. And that's the difference. Because when you operate on your feelings, you're not going to get a lot done. I'm sure we all been there, like going through a tough breakup, or are you feeling like you lost somebody? You don't want to move. All the motivation, everything you had, you got all kinds of things that you want to do. Like there's goals you want to attack, and you have rituals that you do every day. But if you attach yourself to your emotions, you will sit your ass in depression sitting inside that bed. You won't leave. You won't ever leave. You'll stay there and you just keep feeling sorry for yourself. And nobody's coming to save you. So feeling sorry for yourself is a waste of time. It's easier said than done because we've programmed ourselves so much by doing this. But if you can just find the courage within to just move forward anyway, things are going to happen. And another philosophy is not allowing yesterday's troubles to ruin the present day. And how many of us do that? We sit there stuck on the past. We think about decisions that we could have made instead of realizing that each day is a separate life and tomorrow isn't promised. So we very well could die today, And with that, and knowing that we could die today, is this really worth thinking about? Is it really worth me being so attached to the moment and just staying on top of this shit? Or do I look at the situation, I feel it for the moment, and then I move forward? Things happen. Another fable analogy that kind of helped me. Like if a snake bit you, would you go after the snake and try to wonder why the snake bit you, or would you try to treat the wound? And a lot of us try to figure out, they want to wait for the snake to come back and apologize for biting us. But a snake gonna be a snake. You know what I'm saying? They moving on to the next motherfucker to infect that poison. But you got to treat the wound or you're going to die. So, these are the philosophies that kind of get me through life's challenges. And it's tough. Like I said, it is not for the weak. It's not for the weak. And believing that you're entitled to people being kind to you, being nice to you, as long as you're nice to you. You're not able to control what anybody else does, but you can have healthier boundaries for yourself that will teach people how to treat you. Waiting for somebody to come and apologize, waiting for somebody to come and love you and that's another, I like that one too. I like that philosophy. You have to have more self-love than your desire to be loved. And we'll say it again for the people in the back. Your love for self must be greater than your desire to be loved. And understanding what that means. Because a lot of us feel like we weren't loved properly, or we could have been loved a certain way. We felt entitled to a certain type of love that we probably didn't get, versus being grateful for whatever we had. And now, again, I don't know, some of us grew up in some toxic situations. So understanding love can be very hazy. You know what I mean? Like, somebody could tell you they love you and then did hurtful shit to you, so you kind of question when somebody tells you they love you. You don't necessarily believe them. You wait for the rug to be pulled from under you. You wait for them to attack you. You wait for betrayal. You look for, it's just not real. There's no way in hell that somebody could love me. And that's where us not loving ourselves comes in, because we're very lovable. You know what I'm saying? Very, very lovable. All of us, But again, pain is a motherfucker. And you project it. It fills up. Your cup of pain fills up and it tips over. And then people around us get caught with the pain shower. My bad. You don't say my bad. You might, depending on how emotionally aware you might be. But for the most part, we ain't saying I'm sorry. We just do hurtful shit. because hurt people. But you got to take care of yourself though. You got to protect yourself. You got to have healthy boundaries. Otherwise, and like I said, we don't live in a world where what you think is fucked up, they might not. That might be normal life for them. But you got to love yourself enough to have healthy boundaries and teach people how to treat you. You got to show them the rules that you have. And that is kind of tough when you've never had that. Trying to do some shit you've never seen or done in life is challenging, but it's worth it. That's what I can say. All these philosophies make life worth it for me. And I'm grateful. I'm grateful for the mentors. I'm grateful for the knowledge that I've run across. I'm grateful for stoicism. I'm grateful for mistakes. I'm grateful for pain. I'm grateful for pleasure. I'm grateful for life itself. So those are the philosophies. Next topic. What was your kindergarten teacher like? Mrs. Whitmore. And this was in Cuba. This is in Guantanamo Bay, Navy brat. And she was a nice lady. It was very nice. She would get stern from what I remember. And the only reason I can remember it is because my mom took a lot of pictures. She took pictures, of course, like any loving mother would do. So I'm able to see things and I can pull from those moments what I remember in my mental Rolodex. But I do remember nap time. I do remember having nap time. I do remember us walking to the buses. I remember me and this kid, Chris, fought on the bus. Yes, I fought at 5 years old. Chris was like he was a big ass 6-year-old. But we kind of got into it. I vaguely remember it, but we got in a fight, 5 years old, and it was interesting. I don't know, he was just being a bully, and we kind of dealt with it the way that we did. But I don't know what happened because I grew into not being a fighter. I was like really a pussy, like I say as a teenager, just making jokes to not have to be in fights. So I don't know how I go from wanting to whoop ass at 5 to the little bitch boy, beta male, is, like through middle school. But, I remember Miss Whitmore. She was redhead, kind of short hair, redhead. Like very much like she's probably in her 50s. I'll give her that much, probably in her 50s. So who knows where she is right now. That is 1990. So that makes her, I don't know what she is now, but I really just thank her for what she did for me and my classmates. But I do remember a lot of the times that we had in there, show and tell, trying to learn the days of the week in Spanish and stuff. We also had that at preschool too. But being we lived in Cuba, they try to teach us a little bit of Spanish from what I remember. So we just did the days of the week. I just remember Gitmo. I remember playing basketball out like at recess. That's really all I got from that. Amazed that I can remember even that shit. But that's what I remember about my kindergarten teacher, Miss Whitmore. What's the most fun thing you've ever done with your friends? Well, throughout my life, I've had different groups of friends. So I'll start with like being a teenager. Being a teenager, the most fun I've done with my friends would more than likely be, the most fun I've had with friends as a teenager was sitting in Nansman River's cafeteria before school started, And we're just sitting there, and it was me, Rodney, Joe, Elgin, Rashad, Rudy, Carlos, and we just do the dozens. If we weren't talking about each other, we were talking about whoever was coming in. You know what I'm saying? We just refer them to like a celebrity. They go Big Bird and Ernie, and then it'd be like a girl or a guy look like Big Bird and Ernie. But like those moments, and not just, that's probably the most fun I've had as a teenager, is just being in those moments in the cafeteria, and then of course in class too. Like I tell you what, there's been so many moments in class, and I have to include T-Dot for that one too, because we would be in class, like, can't sit us together, you know, not able to sit us together because we cut up. That's really what we did. And you really had to be good at comedy. You had to be good at comedy in some form. And then some you just had to concede in defeat, honestly. We had so much fun. If it wasn't the bus, if it wasn't like in front of the cafeteria, just sitting there joking, clowning, that's really all we did. We did our best to try to come up with the best fashion that we could have coming to school. But for those of us who couldn't come to school with good fashion, you made for great jokes in the classroom, in the cafeteria, girls that be trying to do different hairstyles that's not out in left field, difference from what you can do with your hair. That being a source of jokes. You wearing non-name brand shoes or non-name brand clothes. Very insecure children. Yes, we were. Yeah, we were. From a mental health standpoint, lens, yes, we were very insecure, and we were very concerned about what we wore. But it made for a lot of fun with kids, you know, like I said, sitting in the classroom and just saying lines from movies, quoting them all, like the most common ones. Like we used to really quote Trippin'. We used to quote Friday. We used to quote Friday After Next when that came out. We quoted Life. We quoted Five Heartbeats. We quoted Coming to America. We quoted, I mean, it's just so many, you know. And we, in any given Sunday, anything that was popular at the time, you know, like we really just did that. And we would say that that person looked like that. And that's like that's the most fun I probably had as a teenager. In my Air Force days, more of the same. We would, again, we all came from different backgrounds. We had people come from Miami. We had people come from Kinston, North Carolina. We had people come from New Orleans. We had people coming from San Diego, California. We had a few people from Atlanta. We had me from Suffolk, Virginia. And we all were a melting pot together. So all we did was share music with one another wherever we came from, and then we would talk about each other. So the most fun, I say, in the Air Force was probably preparing to go to Nighttown and preparing to leave Nighttown, stopping by Whataburger in the drive-thru, getting biscuits and gravy, taquitos, and clowning on each other all the way there. I'm talking about two people in the back seat, drunk as shit, and just clowning one another. And it's all in love, you know what I'm saying? It's all in fun. We'll sit there and talk about each other. Even sometimes look like we're about to go to blows. And then we'll be playing Madden in each other's dorm rooms right after that. But the most fun I've had with those guys, man, I'm still making memories with them. I mean, we're just older now, fathers and you know, some even grandfathers too. But like we would just sit there and rag on one another. And we kind of introduced people that weren't used to that setup. And it just made for great fun for like just how we used to dog each other. Like it was just a lot of fun. Again, it's more the same thing, like saying this person looks like this person and it would look like that person. So we all would laugh. But like us being together, even those moments with with the friends I had in high school, that's a moment that won't ever, whenever we do get together, we sometimes will talk about old things and even do that stuff, but we've matured, and but to talk about those old days, it definitely brings back a lot of memories. So like I look at those years in in high school. And then I look at the years in the military, the Air Force, how we used to joke with one another, just being young, sharing music, a lot of, like I said, a lot of jokes, definitely a lot of jokes, a lot of humor, but just being in the moment with them, that really, you'll never be able to duplicate that again in that manner, the way that it was. And I'd say the most fun that I have now with my friends is honest, deep conversations, like present day. The most fun I have is really learning about all the shit that we went through, that we were going through. We didn't talk about then, but we're able to talk about it now as adults, looking back, being able to heal so that our kids can heal, so our family can heal. But like, just sitting there cracking brews, talking about life and seeing each other's growth. I mean, we're talking about friendships, 20-year friendships, seeing people from when you were 18 years old to now, 40, and seeing them go through so much pain, having people, pass along the way, and then people that were involved in some, addictions, to overcome them and be able to come back, even better. That to me is that's the fun that I get, the joy that I have these days with my friends, like being able to talk about The Office. Like for those of us, like some of my friends that watch The Office, we can say things about The Office and people will understand it. And then those that value us will then pick up on The Office shit. Like obviously you guys see TWSS, that's what she said. That comes from, Michael Scott on The Office, the best, worst boss you've ever seen in your life. I truly recommend people stomaching the first season, but eventually watching The Office, because it is a very, very, to me, it's a very, very hilarious show. And it just makes you ask, what the fuck was Michael thinking? Every time. Michael does something each fucking episode that has you like, there's no way he can top this shit. So writing was amazing, but this is what like I said, me and my friends would do. We'd just clown. The joy of laughter. Like we cried. We laughed. We laughed to hide our pain. A lot of us did, man. But it worked out. We did a lot of great things together. We made a lot of memories, and some of us are still making memories together. We're just scattered across the region now, But we made a lot of fun. Like I said, we had a lot of fun. We created a lot of fun in those moments with the friends that had as teenagers, the friends that had as like young adults, and even now present day, those same friends still here. And now we're creating newer versions of us that do it, with like from our kids, and they take on those traits and having those skills of comedy, and it's fun to watch. It definitely is fun to watch. But I truly believe that's the most fun I've had with my friends, and we were really it was just conversation. It was comedy, it was music, it was love. Yeah, that's it. We're done. Good night, kids.